Right, so the next stage is that we're going to be painting the back of the bee. And as you can see again, I've done my half as an example. I'm now just going to show you how to approach that. So again, we're going to start with a watery version of the brown. So we can see where it's darkest and we can see that there's this sort of light patch towards the centre. So I've just gone round the light patch and left that all light, and then everything else I'm just going in and putting in with this base colour of brown till we get down to the bottom down here. And then there's this sort of reddier tone at the bottom here, so I'm just going to come in and paint those reddier tones where I see them, and then they sort of fade out into the brown. So just getting some clean water on my brush and just using it to fade those in. And then once I've got that faded in, I'm going to go back in with my darker brown and I'm going to start painting the dark tones where I see them, so over here and down this edge is where I see the darkest colours. And then there's sort of some little darker bits in the middle. And it sort of like fades out and joins in. We've got a darker bit that comes along here at the top. And then we just kind of need to work all that together in the centre. So again, just brushing off my brush, clean water on there, and I'm just going to sort of work around the edges of it, getting it all to come together. Using like little circular motions to start blending things in, stopping it look so obvious. There's different tones there and bringing it together. Okay, and then once I've done that, I'm going to come in with another darker layer of brown again where I see it over here, and I'm sort of dabbing it on the page this time because it does sort of look speckled to me, the back of this bumblebee. So where the darker tones are, I'm just going to go and sort of like dab with my brush to add some of those on. And then I'm going to do the same down the bottom here with some of this red tone and pick up some of that darker brown and blend that together there like that as well. And again, just sort of blend it in up here where I see those sorts of things happening. And then once I'm happy with it, once I think I've got it sort of starting to look like what I see on my picture, I think I just need a bit of water to blend all that in there because that looks a bit odd. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my black, and in that area again there, I'm just going to go in a bit dotty, a bit splodgy, darken up and blend in those areas where I see that happening, and I see some darker little lines sort of happening along here as well. Just going to add those in. Okay, and then when I'm happy with that, I'm then going to move on and I'm going to start to look at the sections around it. So before I move on, actually, I just think I'm going to give that one sort of last smudge because I've painted it in two halves, so I can do half with you and half you can see as an example. It didn't quite look like it was tying together for me there for a second. So I'll just get a little bit of water join up those two sections to make sure they look like they are joining. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the sort of fluff and flare and things going around. So we've got this little section underneath here that we need to deal with. So I'm going to do the same as I did before, very light brown, and go and paint in light brown tones. A little bit of water. Just to blend that out. And in the centre it's sort of goldy, like this yellow ochre tone. So then that's where put some very small amounts of yellow ochre to start blending it together. Before again going back in with my darker brown tone. Sides then sort of, and encouraging it to blend together. You can see that I've left a little white rim all the way along that section there because that's sort of what we can see, but again I don't want to make it look like too obvious, like I've left a big patch. So what I'm just going to do, again just a little bit of water, and it'll just pick up from the colours around it, and it'll just bring it together a little bit so you can still see the highlight but it still matches the tones from around. So now we're into painting the fur that goes around it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some of our yellow paint and we're going to paint that nice and close to the section that we've just painted. So I'm going all the way around it, and then once I've done that, clean off my brush, get some clean water, and I'm just going to smudge some of that yellow out towards the edge, so we have that nice fade of yellow colour to start off with, because I am a fan of starting lighter and then building up in layers. So then I think I can afford to go in a bit stronger, and I'm sort of painting in curvy flecks, following that shade towards the outside edge. And then I need to go in with my orangey colour. So again, clean off my brush. Am I going to go in with yellow ochre first? Yeah, I think I am going to go in with a bit of yellow ochre first before I go in with the orangey colour, just because that's what I can sort of see in the tones. And again, I've just gone round in the same sort of direction, flicking and curving to the outside edge. So then I'm coming in with this orangey browny colour now to add in any parts where I really see that orangey colour happening. And then, because I feel like they're a bit strong, I'm just getting some clean water back on my brush. And I'm just going to use my water to work those back in. And just build up the strength of those. And then up here we can see a lot of sort of really big flicks almost coming out of the brown section that we've already painted. So I'm actually painting over on top of that, and it pulls some of that brown colour out with it into that section there, which is what we want to happen. And kind of gets it to start working and blending together, just like we've got over this side here where I've done it here. You can see it sort of coming together there. And then I'm going to add some of that to up here under the head as well. And then maybe a little bit down there. Okay, so I'm starting to think that I'm quite happy with that section as well now, and maybe you might just get a little bit of the darker brown and just go along and darken that edge up along there and join those little flicks in and darken up the little section between where the fluff joins onto the head in these places. But I generally think once you've worked in with your little flicky brush strokes, making those lines that you see, darkening up any that you feel like need darkening up, then there's one last thing you can do in this section to sort of help you be ready and move on to the next section. Is we can get some of this browny red coloured paint here, and we can just start to map in the sections of our wing that we will need to blend into these, so you can see that there's some little parts of the wing that come into what we've been creating there. So I'm just going to mark those in with that colour, and then just put any little darker bits in that I see. With the darker brown as well. And then I'm going to get my yellow bit and just work my yellow back in with that a little bit to make it look like it's blending in, and then get a little bit of that watery yellow in these sections as well, just to make sure it looks like it's a part of the wing, and we know what's going to happen, because you can see I've already started to do that this side, and we can then, when we move on to the wing, we can just blend that in together. Okay, so now I've done that half of the back, it's up to you to finish all of yours.